Welcome to the deep dive, where we take the source material you share with us and really just distill the essential knowledge. Today, we are unpacking a concept that, well, it's often surrounded by this thick fog of both promise and, I think, a lot of paranoia. We're talking about accessing and using the deeper parts of your own consciousness.
Right.
You hear phrases like profound states of awareness or deep mind exploration, even that really loaded term mind control. And there's an immediate kind of anxiety.
There is.
Intellectually, it sounds amazing, but there's that protective part of your brain whispering, what if you unlock something dangerous? What if you go too deep and you can't get back?
And that anxiety, it's really rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding of the whole process. When people talk about accessing the deep mind, the fear isn't actually about the depth.
What is it then?
It's the murkiness.
Yeah.
You're afraid of going into some unmapped area without principles, without a framework, and, critically, without any verifiable scientific evidence that what you're doing is systematic and safe.
Okay, so let's try to reframe this fear based on the material we have today. We assume the dangerous exploration is the one we choose to begin.
Mm-hmm.
But the sources suggest we're already exploring our minds every single day, often completely lost in anxiety and self-reproach, anger, and we just call that state normal.
Exactly. It's like you're sailing a boat without a compass and then claiming the chaos of the ocean. We are already in deep, rough waters. We just don't realize we need a map.
So that's our mission for this deep dive.
Right. We want to move past fear, move past abstract belief, and use the scientific gold standard of a clinical study to see if introducing structure into these mental states is safe.
You want to know, is this dangerous, or is it maybe counterintuitively the safest thing you can do?
And to anchor this, we have a truly remarkable clinical study from the early 1970s. This is where the data it really demands our attention.
So in 1970, we meet a Dr. Clancy D. McKenzie. He's a psychiatrist and psychoanalyst in Philadelphia. And importantly, he wasn't new to this kind of work.
Not at all. He had a really robust background in related fields, yoga, meditation, biofeedback psychology. His perspective was unique because he brought a trained clinician's eye to methods that were, often dismissed by the mainstream.
So he decided to undertake what was then called mind control training.
But not because he was a believer. He went into it purely because he wanted to measure if anything objectively real was happening.
Or if it was just, placebo effect or wishful thinking.
Precisely. He wasn't there to join a movement. He was there to put the techniques through a rigorous scientific test. And that motivation is what gives his findings so much weight.
And he collaborated with another doctor.
Yes, Dr. Lancet's right. Together, they launched a research project that spanned 4.5 years.
And their subjects were 189 volunteer psychiatric patients. Now, here is the detail that really gets at that core fear of destabilization.
This is the crucial part. They deliberately did not exclude the most vulnerable people. Out of the 189 subjects, 75 were diagnosed with severe conditions,
Such as
psychosis, borderline personality disorder, and even patients who were actively recovering from acute psychotic episodes.
wow, that's a bold choice. You're talking about patients who are already extremely fragile. Conventional wisdom would say these are the exact people you don't do this with.
But McKenzie was determined to prove the safety, or the danger, conclusively. They monitored these patients with extreme care.
So they started with the more stable ones first.
Initially, yes. But as they gained confidence, they included those who were less stable, even some who are currently grappling with active delusions or obsessions. They wanted to see if structure would create a breakthrough or a breakdown.
And to measure the change, they used a huge 400-question test.
To measure reality perception, both before and after the training. And no, this was not a quick checklist.
Right.
The sources make it clear this test was intentionally exhaustive. It was designed to catch really subtle changes in cognitive function that shorter assessments might miss. They wanted a high-resolution snapshot of the patient's inner world.
So after 4.5 years, on this highly vulnerable group, what were the results?
So the big picture outcome is, it's very instructive. Out of 189 patients, 36 showed significant improvement. 21 remained unchanged.
So over 57 patients either got better or at least stayed stable.
Exactly. And the key metric for safety is this. Only one single patient experienced a measurable decline.
Only one. When you think about the natural ups and downs in a psychiatric population, where setbacks are common even with traditional treatment, that ratio, it's incredible. It argues pretty strongly against these methods being inherently dangerous.
And we can dive into the success stories because they really do shatter our assumptions about fragility.
Okay, give me an example.
There was a schizophrenic patient who previously believed he was receiving telepathic commands to kill someone.
Hmm.
After the course, he gained the ability to discuss his delusional system with the doctor
Or the first time ever.
for the very first time. I mean, that is a massive psychological shift.
It is.
He also reported a tangible increase in emotional energy, a brighter view of life, and this is the most powerful part, he returned to school to pursue a PhD.
That's not just stabilization. That's a whole new life path.
It's a fundamental reorientation.
And what about the depression group?
There were 28 of them. 26 reported feeling better right after the course, and the 2 who said they actually felt more depressed.
Yeah.
They still scored higher on their reality perception tests. It turned out they'd finally gained the machinery to start processing long-standing issues they'd always suppressed.
So the tools let them finally face the problem, even if that first look was, well, heavy.
Exactly. And for acute cases, the findings were just as remarkable. A 21-year-old woman with acute psychosis, suicidal ideation, she showed one of the most complete and rapid remissions Dr. McKenzie had ever seen in a single weekend.
In a weekend.
In a weekend. She repeated the course soon after and fully recovered within a year.
It's just hard to reconcile these outcomes with the idea that this is just, basic relaxation. Something much deeper has to be shifting.
And that takes us to that single case of measured decline, which is maybe the most instructive data point of all.
Okay, so what happened there?
This is a 29-year-old schizophrenic patient. He had stopped his medication, and feeling good from the course, he started dating for the first time. The course had given him, and I quote, more emotional energy and brighter prospects.
But then,
2 weeks later, a conflict on a date triggered some emotional turmoil. He had a measurable decline, but, and this is crucial, he did not require hospitalization.
so the big question is, was the decline caused by the training, or was it just life? His new energy exposed him to the messy reality of relationships.
And the clinicians were absolutely adamant about this distinction. They argued the technique was not the direct cause. The course increased his capacity, his optimism, which let him take the risk of dating.
Right.
But that meant he ran into life events he just didn't have the tools to handle perfectly yet. The fact he managed the turmoil without being hospitalized suggested the work itself wasn't the destabilizing factor. It was life hitting an optimistic but still inexperienced mind.
This flips the whole script. We stop asking what happened, and we move to why did this structured internal work actually function as a therapy? Was it really more than just relaxation?
Relaxation is definitely a necessary precondition, but no, it's not the mechanism. The clinical synthesis showed much deeper transformations.
Like what?
Patients learned to rely on their own resources to understand and solve their problems. They weren't becoming dependent on a therapist, they were becoming self-sufficient. This led to huge anxiety reduction and measurable reduction in clear delusions.
So if we strip it all down, what's the core principle at play here?
It was what McKenzie called the principle of structure. He theorized that when a person is given a clear, systematic method to move from internal chaos to internal structure, the mind no longer needs to create symptoms to call for help.
That's a powerful thought. That a delusion or crippling anxiety isn't just a random flaw in the system, it's an active signal.
It's an active but maladaptive signal, yes. Think of your internal system like a huge company. If that company has no HR department, no communication channels, no chain of command, total chaos, the problems don't just go away.
No, they explode. They manifest as crises and disruption.
Exactly. The deep mind is the same. When it lacks a channel for resolution, it defaults to a channel for expression. Symptoms, whether it's schizophrenia or chronic work stress, are often the mind's only way of signaling distress when it has no other way to communicate.
Give the mind the structure.
And the signal volume goes down.
If that holds for psychosis, just imagine what it means for the pressures you, the listener, face. High-pressure jobs, chronic stress, decision fatigue. It's all internalized chaos.
Precisely. The solution might not be more external control, but more internal organization. If you feel that constant internal noise, that feeling that a quiet moment is impossible, McKenzie's work suggests that noise isn't random static. It's a distress signal looking for a channel to resolve itself.
Okay, let's move to the most startling finding. This is a phenomenon that really challenges our understanding of where psychology ends and, well, physical reality begins. I'm talking about the programmed dream.
This is where the material gets truly unexpected. Dr. McKenzie had a patient who was facing imminent hospitalization. She had agonizingly severe chest and abdominal pain.
So he didn't dismiss the pain, but he tried something different first.
Right. Instead of rushing her to the ER, he instructed her to program a dream to answer 4 specific questions.
What were they?
What is the problem? Where is it located? What is the cause? And how do I escape? An unbelievable diagnostic tool.
So what does she dream?
That night, she dreamt of a car sliding off a winding, snowy road into a dead end. And this was immediately followed by a vision of square road segments connecting together, like a complete map.
And the doctor?
He suspected the imagery related to the intestine, and he had her draw the map she saw.
And when they did the medical tests?
The test confirmed a blockage precisely at the junction of the small and large intestine, the exact spot suggested by the imagery of the car sliding off the road.
So her internal system symbolically gave an accurate anatomical diagnosis.
Despite the patient having zero anatomical knowledge, yes.
That is astonishing. But the next part, the resolution, that's what really makes me pause.
She used the insights from the dream, that idea of connecting the road segments, which suggested a path forward, and she managed to self-resolve the blockage without surgery. It just cleared.
Hold on. How does structured introspection clear a severe physical blockage?
It clarifies the core psychological conflict that the body was manifesting. The key detail was her medical history. She'd had 4 previous surgeries for blockages in that exact same spot over 20 years.
Wow.
This suggested her body had learned a psychosomatic pattern. It learned to physically create the disease based on a recurring, unresolved psychological need. The dream provided the symbolic language to identify and resolve that unconscious need.
And that allowed the body to release the tension, creating the blockage.
Exactly. So the chilling realization here is that we might not just be having problems in life. We might be unconsciously producing them because our internal system has no structured outlet, forcing the body to generate the symptom instead.
The dream wasn't magic.
It was language.
Mm-hmm.
The language of the internal system, proving that deep mental work gives you the map and the structure you need to stop the self-sabotage.
So let's circle all the way back to our original anxiety. Is this stuff dangerous?
Based on the rigorous, objective observation of Dr. McKenzie and his team, his conclusion was definitive. These techniques are not only remarkably safe and overwhelmingly beneficial, but he argued they should be an essential part of psychotherapy, that they could significantly shorten treatment time even for the most severe diagnoses. The depth isn't the problem, the structure is the solution.
So for you, the learner who might be thinking about engaging in more structured internal work, what are the 4 core takeaways from this massive study?
The first lesson, I think, is that awakening starts with daring to doubt correctly. Dr. McKenzie didn't just trust the techniques, he doubted them. But he used his doubt to drive rigorous verification. That's the path to follow.
Second, and this is so important, the mind requires structure, not judgment. Judgment just increases the internal chaos and guilt, making things murkier. Method and structure, they increase clarity. They make the deep mind manageable.
Third, you have to respect that dreams are serious internal communication. They are not random chemical noise. They are the symbolic language your inner system uses to discuss what you avoid during the day. Your internal management team is trying to talk to you.
And finally, the 4th takeaway.
True strength is self-regulation. It's not about controlling others or external pressures.
Yeah.
The ability to regulate your internal world, to guide it from chaos to structure, that's what reduces the enormous tax you pay with chronic physical or mental symptoms.
So if we shift the question, based on all this clinical evidence...
We stop asking, is exploring my mind dangerous? And we start asking a much more immediate question.
Which is...
Am I living dangerously every day because I don't understand the psychological mechanisms that are currently controlling me, driving my stress, and manifesting my symptoms?
The clinical evidence here provides pretty clear directive. The depth of the mind isn't the scary part. The scary part is living your whole life without understanding the internal logic that truly controls your day-to-day experience.
So if you feel hesitant about this kind of work, follow the path of the objective scientist. Don't instantly trust, but more importantly, don't instantly fear. Seek method, observation, and guided experience to gain the structure your mind is so clearly craving.